My name's Charlene Rashford. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm really excited to get this thing started. So this is the 30-day cleanse challenge. And the reason why I wanted to do this was, a majority of us are home right now. We're probably feeling not necessarily the best with the circumstances that are happening on the outside. So what better thing to do than to control what you can actually control, right? And one of the things that we can do right now is control our control our health, right? Take our health into our own hands and be the best that we can. I did the cleanse. I started doing this cleanse 5 years ago. This will be my 5th time doing the cleanse. The first time I did it, it was right after surgery. So I had gained a whole bunch of weight. I really was not feeling good about myself. I had allergy issues. I had migraines. And quite frankly, I was overweight. So I talked to Kiran about the cleanse and just went for it. Me and 2 other friends, we did it. We did the full 30 days and it was super simple. Compared to things that I have done before in regards to the cleanse, it was very simple. By day 5, I started to feel better. I saw less bloating, headaches. I will tell you a story about my headaches. I had a headache / migraine for 49 days straight. I saw a neurologist. I saw a whole bunch of medical professionals about this, and nobody could figure out what was going on. After I started this cleanse, I have never seen that streak before. I have had maybe 3 migraines since, but I truly believe like this started to help me feel better about myself. Not just better about myself, but feel better internally. So with that, I actually ended up losing, it was like 10 or 11 pounds after the 30 days. So whatever that was, I'm glad it went away. I saw less bloating. I was no longer experiencing the congestion that I was constantly having. Again, less headaches, more energy, and more mental clarity. Like things just became, I was able to concentrate better. I can't say enough good things about this. So I'm really excited for everyone to be here and learn more about what's going on. I'm going to turn it over to Kiran right now and let her take it from here.
Thank you so much, Charlene. That was amazing. I actually forgot about that migraine story that you told me. So thank you for sharing that with everyone. I actually want to really recognize Charlene because this was her idea to put this group together and to have all of you come on board and us create this community of people that want to change our gut microbiome, right? And improve our gut health. So thank you so much for introducing this whole session. And I actually wanted to spend a little bit of time just kind of setting up the context as to why we're all here. And I'm just going to share my screen, so give me a second. Great. So this is a 30-day cleanse challenge overview. We're trying to get a clear start towards building a healthy microbiome. We're laying the foundation here towards a healthy microbiome. And this is a special introductory session. And the purpose of this information is just to help you understand the importance of gut health and what to expect in the next 30 days. So do we really need to do a cleanse? And I think the best way to answer that question is to understand that we are being polluted from our environment, from our food, from many different sources. And so it's affecting our entire health. You know, certain harmful bacteria that our pets and household pets and cleaners and skincare can really wreak havoc in our bodies. And even things like our even agriculture, pesticides in our food and soils can really affect our digestion. And some of the things that are not so common or not so commonly heard of is over-the-counter medications, right? And sometimes even pharmaceutical medication can have some side effects that can lead to some unwanted side effects in our digestive system and wreak havoc in our digestive systems. So I think we need to listen to our guts, because 90% of disease and discomfort is directly or indirectly related with an unclean colon. And this is from the Royal College of Physicians. And of course, I have an expert here with us who's going to share some more information on that. But I just wanted to kind of cover what kind of symptoms you'll be experiencing if you have a toxic gut or something's going on with your microbiome that's not balanced. And so, weight gain, unexplained weight gain, some cravings, irritability, migraines, like Charlene mentioned. I personally had really bad migraines, and you just reminded me, like, I used to have migraines every month at least, and it was insane how much that shifted as soon as I did a cleanse, especially one that was catered towards building back the microbiome. And so, we're trying to shift our bodies from an unhealthy colon to a healthier colon. We're trying to remove that extra buildup, that old grease and mucus that's been built up in our linings, and toxins and chemicals that could be potentially being harmful and showing up in other areas of our bodies. And so I actually want to take this time and not spend too much time talking, because as much as I'd like to talk about the microbiome, I want to leave that to the experts. We have a guest speaker here, Dr. Lucas Grant, whose PhD is in microbiology, food and nutrition sciences from the University of Australia. So get ready for that Australian accent. And his research focuses on the gut microbiome, functional foods, and the relationships between phytonutrients and human health. So he's going to share his knowledge and expertise on the topic and why this cleanse might be a great fit for you. So I'm going to turn that over to you.
Good morning. Can you hear me, Kiran?
Perfect.
Oh, good evening where you are.
Yeah. So he's in Singapore, and so he's joining us. It's 8 a.m. your time.
Yeah, that's right, 8 a.m. So thank you everyone for coming and listening to this talk today. I'm here to present some of my great scientific research about gut health and the microbiome, and really how it can help your overall health and well-being. So as Kiran mentioned, I'm actually from Australia, if you can tell by the accent. It's a great place down there. But I'm actually in Singapore at the moment, working for Unicity here with these lockdowns. I'm actually at home, so it's a great time to sort of get together and get connected about these great topics of gut health and the microbiome. So what is the microbiome? It's this collection of trillions of microorganisms, such as bacteria, that live on and in us. So there's actually a range of different microbiomes within our body systems. So there's actually a skin microbiome, and the trillions of microorganisms within our gut is actually the gut microbiome. And this is really important for our digestive health, because one of their major functions is to break down this fibrous plant materials that we ourselves cannot digest. So we actually don't have the capability to break down a lot of plant material that's really left up to our gut microbiome. And that's really why it's so important for our health. So I just wanted to talk about some of the aspects of the gastrointestinal tract and why you may be feeling discomfort, and you can really see how the microbiome might be off kilter. So the main purposes of the gastrointestinal tract is really for that absorption and extraction of nutrients and removal of waste products. And we've always known that these are like two of the main functions of this amazing system. But there's actually another major component of this, and it's really become such a big influential factor in the last 15 to 20 years, and that's the gut microbiome. So thinking about the gut still anatomically, you can think about this long tube between from end to end, and we think of this tube as actually being technically outside of the body. And I'll explain to you why that is so important. Thinking of it as an external factor can actually help you think about how to promote its health and well-being. Internally of this tube, we actually refer to this as the lumen. And this is where the food bolus actually moves through the tract. And bacteria here, the main sort of most important component of the microbiome, can be referred to as transient here, which means they actually just move through the tract with the food as it goes through. But these can have a very important impact on our health. And this is much the way that a lot of probiotics can also work. If they don't actually colonize the gut, they actually transient, but they have a huge health benefit as they pass through. And then closer to the cell surface, we refer to this gel-like substance on the cell lining. And this is actually called the mucosa. And this is actually a really important gel system that keeps a separation between the cell surface of our gut and the microbiome that's colonizing along the lining. So bacteria here, you can refer to as colonizing bacteria. So they actually make a permanent home within the gut. And then this is a very important and critical area. So a lot of issues with gut health can actually be from the breakdown of this protective layer, and that can cause a pro-inflammatory response and really impact your gut health. And I'll explain a lot of that in more detail. So we don't actually know everything there is to know about the microbiome currently, but science has really told us a lot. And a lot of these are major health associations. And one of the biggest things that we found about the microbiome is that a healthy, diverse community, so that's talking about many different species within this community, actually is more beneficial and actually gives us more of promotion of our own health and well-being. So you can think of it much like our own communities, where we all have different roles within our community, such as police officers or teachers, but we can't all have the same role. But then some of us are also parents and siblings, and you can think of this analogy much like the microbiome, where there's this core function, but then there's these bacteria, special beneficial bacteria that have specialized roles. And thinking about it this way really helps with the understanding of how it works and how it benefits us. Another way that we've seen that why a diverse, so an increased number of beneficial members within the microbiome is so important for health, from scientific research. The microbiome of people in developed nations is actually less diverse than those in developing nations. And this is a huge finding about the difference between people that live in these different areas. But why is this, and why is it important? Well, the major reason for this difference is really down to diet. So the diets in developing countries are very different to those of Western nations. They eat a lot less processed foods. They eat a lot more plant origin material. So this is really beneficial for that microbiome in supporting its growth and maintaining beneficial health. So this really decreases a lot of the gut health issues that we often see in Western societies. And I'm going to talk more about why this is important. So all the external factors that can actually influence the gut microbiome, such as the environment, genetics, stress, lack of sleep, exercise, diet can be considered one of the most important influential factors of the gut microbiome. If you think about it, it's because the gut microbiome is so involved in breaking down all of that complex carbohydrates that we can't break down. And this really impacts the diversity and the changes within it. And this is why we see it's associated with so many systems in the body, such as digestive health, as we've mentioned, immune health, metabolic health, allergies, mood as well is another big factor that's being influenced in scientific research and showing a link with this microbiome. But some of the most researched systems and the most associated systems with the microbiome are, of course, that digestive health from the breakdown of that plant material, but also metabolic health because of the way it interacts with the absorption of nutrients, the changes in the gut motility. So that's actually talking about how fast food moves through the gastrointestinal tract. And this can really change the way we absorb food, the way we feel for hunger. And of course, immune health is a huge has a huge relationship with the microbiome. And this is because I was talking to you about how you can essentially think of that long tube as being external to the outside environment. This really makes the immune system an important factor in maintaining that integrity and that compromise between absorbing nutrients and keeping out potentially bad bacteria. And in fact, there's such a relationship that 70% of the immune system is actually associated with the gut. And this is an astonishing figure. When you think about the immune system, you normally think about fighting off flu, or when you cut your skin and it keeps the infection under control. But it's actually very much targeting that gut environment. And this has actually huge ramifications for when we don't feel well. I'll explain why some of the immune responses can actually cause some of these annoying gut health issues that we commonly experience. So some of the ways the microbiome actually supports healthy immunity. I just wanted to touch on some of these really important factors, especially in this time now of everyone's conscious of how to improve their immune health. And the microbiome is a great way that's sort of linked with that digestive health and that immune health. So the microbiome, a healthy microbiome can actually produce antimicrobial and antiviral compounds that actually reduces the number of potentially bad bacteria in the gut and take the burden off the immune system. And this is really good because some of that inflammation that's caused by potentially pathogenic organisms, so the bad guys, can actually make you feel quite uncomfortable. So this is a great way about how it supports our healthy immunity. And another way is this prebiotic effect. So we all know about these prebiotics. These are actually beneficial fibers and compounds that increase the growth of beneficial bacteria. And this increase in beneficial bacteria actually prevents the growth of potentially bad bacteria by giving them a competitive advantage over those other individuals. So this is a great way to sort of boost your microbiome and its overall health on a trajectory of gut health. And of course, there's this important factor of helping with keeping that mucus barrier. So I mentioned that within the gastrointestinal tract, there's actually this protective mucus lining that keeps a separation between the cells themselves and the microbiome. And this really stops and controls inflammation, keeping it in a constant, regular and healthy transition, because it's all about the right immune response. So if you have a pro-inflammatory, so too much inflammation at a site in the gut, it can actually make you feel quite uncomfortable. Maintaining a healthy immune system and gut health sort of goes hand in hand with maintaining that tract health. So again, these prebiotics are really promoting and pushing the microbiome into a trajectory of health goals. So prebiotics influence the microbiome by selectively promoting beneficial bacteria, but they not only promote certain bacterial species, this can actually have a knock-on effect of how it boosts the entire microbiome. So the input of the right types of prebiotics and dietary fiber can actually boost your microbiome, because initially a beneficial bacteria might begin to digest that prebiotic, but this actually creates these beneficial compounds, these beneficial nutrients, and these can be used by other members of the microbiome, boosting their growth as well. And it's really about a knock-on effect. So all these different prebiotics can actually boost different members of the microbiome. So it's really about this chain effect. And I really like to use this analogy. When you think about birds flying in that V formation, they do this because it actually optimizes energy utilization. And this is really important because it helps the group work together in a healthy way. And I like this analogy, thinking about this with the microbiome. There's thousands of species within our guts, and they're all working in synergy in this optimized fashion. And the reason this is so important for us and our health is about these bacterial nutrients. So these thousands of nutritious compounds that the microbiome is actually producing. And these have a range of ways that have been shown by scientific research to help our health and well-being. So of course, some of these are involved in the inflammation response and reducing inflammation when it's not required. They're also involved in energy balance and gut motility and regulation of that appetite. So gut motility is actually talking about the movement of the gastrointestinal tract. So it's continuously contracting to move that food through the gut. And some of these compounds can actually signal about how fast it moves. Should it move faster? Should it move slower? And this actually really improves our gut health and keeping us regular and balanced and giving us that health and vitality that we're really craving from a healthy microbiome. And I really like to use this analogy about the microbiome drugstore. So this is our relationship to health. If you think about those thousands of bacterial species that are living there, being your friends, supporting you, and they're producing these beneficial compounds, and it's this microbiome drugstore. So providing these essential nutrients that we so need for our maintaining our gut health and our well-being in general. So one of the most researched and most important factors in gut health is these short-chain fatty acids. Now, they might sound a bit complicated, but they're actually, to simplify it, these are produced by bacteria in the gut from the breakdown of dietary fibers and prebiotics. And these are really important to your health. So they can only be produced from these complex carbohydrates, these important prebiotics. And they're actually so important that 70% of the energy required by your gut cells lining the tract actually comes from these short-chain fatty acids. So this is huge in the way that it supports your gut health. So as I mentioned, there's that protective mucus layer that keeps separation and keeps inflammation in check. If there's a lack of short-chain fatty acids or a degradation, it can actually cause a disruption in the integrity of the gut barrier. So when there's a disruption in the gut barrier, you can actually get an increased inflammation response. So there's this thinning of the lining, bacteria moves too close to the cell surface, and you can get inflammation. And this can have a knock-on effect that continues, where this pro-inflammatory response can actually degrade, interfere with your own cells. So too much inflammation can actually affect our own body systems. So this is another way that the microbiome is really linked to that gut health and immune health. Immune health is so important for keeping inflammation in the gut in check and keeping us feeling healthy with full of vitality. Maintaining this is by ingestion of these right dietary fibers, allowing fermentation by bacteria to produce these beneficial nutrients, such as short-chain fatty acids. But these are not the only beneficial nutrients. These are just the most well-studied and well-researched. And they actually have a range of signaling and biological processes in our body as well. So some of them are actually involved in metabolic health for our own cells. So as I mentioned from this talk, the diet is the most influential factor of all the external factors that affect the microbiome. And this is really giving us so much potential to help our microbiome and our gut health by the influential factors of diet. So it's all about reaching those microbiome health goals. And one of the ways, and I really like this analogy, is thinking about incorporating a diverse, healthy diet. So actually, the more diverse your diet is, the more diverse your gut microbiome can be. And that's a great way to think about that link for diet and your microbiome, because we know that it actually drives it to being more diverse, because the more components in your diet, the more bacteria and different specialized bacteria is required to break down those different food groups and food types. Of course, regular exercise and adequate sleep are also hugely influential on our gut microbiome and helping with our overall health and well-being. And of course, microbiome supporting prebiotics, dietary fiber, and probiotics also help you achieve that trajectory of microbiome health goals. So these are great ways to support your microbiome and really put it onto that trajectory of health. But before that, I just wanted to talk about how the microbiome sometimes needs a fresh slate or a fresh start to really begin that journey of building a healthy microbiome. And the Unicity Cleanse is really a great way to influence and have a starting point to really build that trajectory of microbiome health. So I've talked a lot about how to maintain microbiome health, but this is really about the groundwork to put in before you go on Unicity Paraway Plus is part of the Unicity Cleanse program. It has anti-parasitic properties and antimicrobial properties. So this actually helps remove any kind of bad organisms that are in the gut already. So I was talking about that difference between sort of transient microorganisms, so they're the ones that move through with the food, but there's these colonizing organisms that actually colonize the side of the gut. And it's really about removing a lot of those to really have a fresh start and begin building a healthy microbiome. So a lot of these compounds are actually involved in preventing the binding to the mucus membranes and the cell surface itself. So they actually allow the removal of a lot of these microorganisms out of the gut. So this is a great way to really build a foundation for that new microbiome start. And to continue with this Unicity Microbiome Cleanse program is live fiber. So this is like an intestinal cleanse. It actually is a blend of different dietary fibers that actually helps give it bulk. So it's almost like a brush cleaning out the gastrointestinal tract. But this bulk can actually help with supporting. So if you actually think about the tube, there's actually muscles that create the movement of the gut. And if it's increasing the fecal bulk actually helps keeping it regular and moves and does a great cleanse of this gastrointestinal system. And dietary fiber, of course, is really important in that building of promoting those beneficial bacteria. So to really give them a competitive advantage over potentially bad organisms that could be residing within your gut, especially if it's been a long time that you've had a very low fiber or poor diet. We all know that junk food is a great way, especially in these times when we're all trapped inside the foods that we eat. We don't make the best choices. I actually find myself going out for more takeaway just because I need to get out of the house at the moment. It's really about giving those beneficial bacteria that boost and that competitive advantage and removing potentially bad organisms within the gut. And these two together actually are a really great synergistic program. And then there's nature's tea. It has this effect on helping with motility. So that's the movement of the gastrointestinal tract. And it can actually have sort of a laxative effect or movement of the gut that actually gives it a good cleaning away. And this is a great combination to combine with the live fiber and the Paraway Plus as a complete program in really resetting that microbiome, gut health on a trajectory, health and well-being for us. And there's also the aloe vera, and this is actually a great supplement that helps with that, supporting and soothing that gastrointestinal lining. So a lot of the compounds within this product actually help support and keep that mucosa layer actually healthy and functioning correctly. So remember that I mentioned that it's so important to keep that barrier protection and that gel-like substance. It gives a home to your microbiome, so you're really supporting their growth, but it also stops such inflammation in the gut, which can lead to a lot of these uncomfortable symptoms that we feel. So too much inflammation and chronic low-grade inflammation is actually seen in a range of metabolic disorders as well. So there's this huge link between gut health and our own health. So it's really about having a baseline to then keep reaching those microbiome goals. So this program is a great way to clear away the gut, give it a fresh slate, and then, as I mentioned, all these other ways to boost that microbiome and put it on a trajectory of health. And this program is a great way to start that. So thank you for listening to this talk, and I hope you really enjoy these fun and exciting facts about the microbiome. And it's really such an influential factor on our own health, improving our health and vitality. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Grant, for sharing that information with us. I definitely learned a lot, especially how, improving your microbiome can optimize your energy. I think that's powerful. And the fact that, us living in this side of the world, more developed nations have a not so diverse microbiome versus those in developed nations. I think that's really powerful, and that's something that we can all work on by improving our health, our diet. I really appreciate that you took some time and shared this information with us. And I'm just actually going to switch over to my screen here so we can talk a little bit more about the cleanse and how we can all get started on it if you haven't already done so. So the Unicity Cleanse, just like Dr. Grant mentioned, it's 3 simple steps that you can incorporate to set the foundation, a clean slate towards a healthy microbiome. You're not dieting or anything, not being restrictive with your diet here. We're not starving, we're not juicing. These are all natural ingredients that are going to support the natural digestive process. And you notice benefits in your physical health, your mental health, with lifestyle changes. I've been talking about cravings lately. People are getting certain cravings for junk foods and processed foods, and we can all shift that craving by just fixing the bacteria, the diversity, that good bacteria in our gut can influence our mood and our cravings. I think Dr. Grant did a great job explaining, how these all work synergistically together. Pairway Plus pretty much just immobilizes those bad bacteria. Live fiber will help gently scrub and replenish good bacteria, that feeding that bacteria with those prebiotic fibers, planting those seeds for new bacteria to grow. And the aloe vera or the nature's tea, either or, can help you gently clean away anything that's built up in your system. And it's super simple and easy to use. What you're going to do is your first 10 days, you're going to take 2 capsules a day in the morning, okay? And then we're going to add the live fiber to any protein shake or water. You're going to shake it up and you're going to drink it right away. And that's all you have to do for the morning, for the full day. And then towards the end of the day, adding the aloe vera or having a nature's tea after your evening meal. And so here's what you can expect if you join this program with us. You're going to get accountability and support. So just like we had Dr. Lucas Grant share some great information with us, we're going to keep getting educated. We're going to keep getting informed about how we can improve our microbiome. And it's going to start off by first, on Saturday, we're going to do our day 1 together. We're going to take all of our products together at the same time, so no one does it wrong. It's not possible to do it wrong, but it's really simple for us to do it together. And we're going to talk about some principles that we can follow in nutrition that can help enhance some of the results of our cleanse, and how to take some measurements if you want to take measurements, some before and afters, and how to do that. And so on day 10, we're going to all start to incorporate adding more of that Pairway Plus to help us really push away all those bad bacteria and parasites that could be potentially living in our systems. And so that's where we're going to invite Dr. Lucas Grant back to talk to us about the importance of adding healthy bacteria, probiotics, what to look for, and why that's very important to replenish, especially towards the end of this cleanse. And then at the end of the cleanse, when we are all done, we're going to do a little celebration, and we're going to talk about some of the results that we've had and celebrate that success. And moving forward, how we can continue to improve and maintain our healthy microbiome. And so part of this program, you're going to get a nutrition guide and a tracker. And so this is just a glimpse of the tracker. So you can print this out and put it on your fridge and track it, tick mark every time you do take your products, so that way you don't forget and you're able to maintain consistency throughout this program. And so I actually have a good friend of mine. She's been working with me for the past year. My husband and I, we've worked together to help people with their nutrition and their health. And so she's been having great results on just incorporating some of the nutritional principles that we talked about. Actually going to invite her to share her story because she just recently finished the cleanse. So I'm going to have her come on and share her story.
Hi, everyone. Good evening and good morning if you're in Singapore. My name's Nancy Sharma, and I've worked with Rav and Kiran for the past year with helping myself understand how to improve my overall health and understand the gaps in my nutrition. I achieved great results over the past year with losing weight and getting a good handle on my nutrition, but I reached a plateau earlier this year, and I reached out to Kiran and was asking her for help on what to do. And she had advised, based on some of the symptoms that I was experiencing, to really explore taking the 30-day cleanse. I chose to do it with aloe vera. I'm not a fan of tea before bed. And I found that over the 30 days, what really helped me was that Kiran was available for the accountability and support. Anytime I had questions or was unsure of if some of the ways that my body was reacting was normal or if I needed to change anything. She was always there for me as a resource and a support to lean on. Now, my results from the cleanse was that I lost 2 inches off my waist and 5 pounds. I know 5 pounds doesn't seem very significant, but I had also been doing a lot of weight and resistance training. So I do notice that I do feel more toned and more muscular. So I think total fat versus muscle, there was more muscle gained and less fat burned off, I guess. I do feel that my energy levels have increased dramatically. I no longer have brain fog, and I'm no longer overeating. I used to have very aggressive sugar cravings, or I would eat to the point where I would feel sick. And now that no longer happens. I feel full a lot sooner while I was doing the cleanse. So I'm super grateful for Kiran for making the suggestion. I think it was just the reset that I needed. And I am encouraging all of you to take part in this cleanse because I think you'll find the benefits long lasting even beyond the 30 days.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Just so you can see my screen, I just shared her pictures with her permission, of course. She looks phenomenal. This is from her transformation prior to doing the cleanse. So she obviously looks better now and looks fantastic. So congratulations on your progress so far. And I'm looking forward to seeing you continually progress and get healthier. And so moving forward, I just wanted to share with you how much does all this cost? Like what are you looking at? This is a very affordable cleanse. If you go onto the Unicity website, you'll see it retails for $135 plus tax and shipping. And today and every other day, if you reach out to either Charlene or I, you will get this for $96 plus tax, and you will get free shipping, and you're getting that coaching and support that Nancy talked about, and plus you're going to get access to these Zoom webinars. You're going to have access to us, and you have access to Dr. Lucas Grant, who's sharing such incredible knowledge with us. So if anyone has any questions for Dr. Grant, he's available for us for the next 5 minutes or so before we wrap up, and we'd love to hear from you if you have any questions.
It's Parvina Nav.
Hey guys.
Okay, perfect. So we're actually very excited to start this cleanse. Our actually most biggest problem is actually our anxiety levels, and hoping that will help us with that. So is there anybody here that has experienced any changes with that, or anyone else that's been taking this cleanse that can kind of shed some light on it?
Nancy, would you like to share?
Yeah, so anxiety, I think, is going to be different for everyone. Now, very generally, I think that anxiety can come by way of personal anxieties or triggered by work or other specific events. Mm-hmm. So I can share my story specifically. I was going through a lot of work-related stress. I work in finance, and the market tanked over the past month. And, I had to deal with coming back from a holiday, clients' portfolios being down 20 to 30%, my own investments being down 20 to 30%, my revenue and my income also being drastically impacted. So I went through a very big shock in a very short time frame, and that was right at the same time when I started the cleanse. So for me, how I found that it benefited was during the whole process, I also added meditation. Now that I'm working from home, I was able to get better sleep, which was something that Dr. Grant also recommended. When you focus on your diet, focus on adequate sleep, participate in the cleanse. There's a number of factors that I think will help alleviate some of the anxiety that you're feeling or experiencing. And that allowed me to reduce my anxiety through this process as well. So that's what's worked for me. I believe everyone's results will be different, and I'm not sure if it was triggered by anything specific, or if it's just more of like a general anxiety that that you're feeling. But I would definitely recommend the cleanse, because it is something that can help kickstart it, but it's not going to be you know, a solution or a replacement, sorry, for something else. I think it's going to build upon the sleep, the diet, consistency, and maybe depending on the situation, if you know there's other systems of support that you need to integrate in your daily routine. I think the combination of all those factors will really make a significant change to the anxiety that anyone feels.
Thanks.
I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because we also work in finance, and I think that our anxiety levels have actually increased ever since this whole COVID-19 started happening. We've been working from home, working way much more longer periods of times at home, not taking enough breaks. It's just, I think it's just been everything overall, which has been crazy for us. And we're just looking for something. Like, my sister's never experienced anxiety, but this whole thing that's been happening with COVID-19, she's recently started to develop it, whereas I have struggled with it because of work. But now it's at a point where it's just like, how do we control this to kind of bring it down? But we're hoping that the cleanse can also help us with that.
Like, I'm the other sister, Nav.
I
I actually, like, I feel like I have a shortness of breath, which I've never ever felt before. I literally only started feeling it like maybe 5 weeks ago when all of this started, maybe 5-6 weeks ago. We're going on the sixth week of working from home, and I've never felt like, I feel like I'm a little bit like congested inside, or there's some sort of there's a high level of anxiety. And like, I've never been a type of person to know what anxiety is or what it feels like, and I don't even know if I want to call it that or describe it anxiety. I just have a hard time unplugging. You know, we have work, even work, like when I used to leave the office, at that point I would forget about work, and I'm like, okay, I'm going home, I have things to do, I have to accomplish those things. Whereas now I'm home, it's so easy for us to just turn on our laptop again and get back to work. Whereas once it's in the office, we leave it there and it's done, and you go home and you do your own stuff. And now it's just like a constant going back and forth. So that, I think it's just so much more tougher to unplug.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to take up too much time if anyone has any questions for Dr. Grant, but let's just do a quick check-in if anyone has questions for Dr. Grant, and then if not, I can go ahead and sort of respond to Nav's question.
Or if Dr. Grant, do you have any thoughts about anxiety and its relation to doing a cleanse, and if that would be helpful?
Well, there's actually a lot of scientific research showing this. As I mentioned, one of the associations with the microbiome is actually with our mood and the feelings of how we elevate our mood as well. So there's a strong connection between how I mentioned that a lot of this beneficial bacteria in the microbiome is creating these positive and important beneficial nutrients for us. In the same way, if there's any sort of bad guys, if you like, those bad organisms in the gut, some of those compounds that they produce can actually interfere our body systems, cause increased inflammation. And there's some scientific research that's linking these associations with an unhealthy microbiome and our overall feelings of mood as well. But in terms of anxiety itself, it could be a change in, like you mentioned, we're all at home now. So keeping a diary, maybe you have actually changed the food that you're eating. Maybe you have actually, you're decreasing your exercise. Sometimes these huge lifestyle changes impact us quite a lot.
Yeah, and just to add on that, what I was gonna say earlier to Nav was routine and boundaries. That's something that has helped me a lot as well, in addition to the cleanse. So how I even connected with Rav and Kiran was as I started a role in finance, I made a decision to sacrifice my health to build my career. And that was the worst decision that I ever made in my life. And it got to the point where I doubled in size and I had no boundaries with my clients. I wasn't practicing self-care, and I wasn't in any routine of regular nutritional principles, exercise, or sleep. And it took me a solid year of working on all those different areas, and one at a time. So working with Rav and Kiran from a year ago, the first thing that we decided to tackle on was nutrition. After nutrition, we focused on sleep. After sleep, then I started incorporating regular exercise. And I just sort of kept on layering and incorporating. And once I built that foundation of nutrition, and then I got to a point where it just all comes naturally to me, and I do feel more balanced. And then I'll incorporate now meditation for mental care. I'll take time, and I'll even time block it in my calendar to practice self-care. Working from home has been a huge transition as well. So understanding routine and boundaries and making something that works for me, I know has helped give me some sense of stability and control, which when I have that routine, it helps remove some of the anxiety that I feel. And of course, there's always going to be a million things that sort of pop up throughout the day that you're just going to have to deal with on the fly. But I think it's a combination of sleep, diet, exercise, nutrition, meditation, self-care, boundaries, and speaking up for yourself if you feel like it's getting overwhelming, whether it's defining that professional boundary or perhaps asking for help or support, and saying, given the new circumstances, these are changes I've noticed. This is acceptable. This is not acceptable. This is what I'd like to propose, and talk to someone who can help get that organized for you.
Awesome, thanks.
Actually, that helps a lot. Yes, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nancy. So we actually have a question from Mohammed. I'm going to mute you right now. So he has a question for you, Dr. Grant. You're unmuted.
Yeah. So my question to Dr. Grant is, I stopped using in the last month, I got a little carried away with my health. I stopped using like live fiber and all that stuff. Now I just got the cleanse package, just started using it, the aloe vera, prepare away live fiber and stuff. I've noticed that in the last month, my sleep got a little bit ticked off. Just wanted to know, does the gut microbiome health have a lot to do with sleeping routines? Does it correlate a lot? Just curious.
There is sort of strong research that shows there's a link between a healthy microbiome and keeping our sleep patterns regular. So you were saying that your sleep was put off when you stopped taking the product, is that right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. In the last month, like my sleep was a little off. I started sleeping late, waking up late, sleeping for a few hours or sleeping too much in the last month. And I used less Unicity products in the last month. But now when you stop serious.
So you decrease the rate of product. So you could actually be so there's a strong link between tiredness and like sort of sluggishness of the gut. So if your digestion is not working correctly, or it's I talked about how a lot of these compounds or these bacterial nutrients are involved in the movement of the gastrointestinal tract, and this really keeps you quite regular. And if this slows down, this can actually increase your feeling of tiredness, because that digestion of that food is taking a lot longer. It just keeps the vitality of your body quite low. So you will feel a lot sluggish if that transit time actually really starts to slow. And you might have experienced this because you were taking fiber. So fiber helps you keep you quite regular, and then you stopped it. So there could be an adjustment period, and it might have slowed down, and that will really make your body feel a lot more tired.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Anyone else have a question for Dr. Grant? You can just raise your hand or send a message. Oh, I have somebody. Can you share what the product tastes like? Okay. Great. Yes, I can share what the product tastes like. So live fiber, if you are a fan of banana, you will love live fiber. I personally am not a fan of banana. So for me, I take it like a health shot and I force it. But
I really like it.
You like
it's
it?
good.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan, but I will take it because I understand the benefits. Yes, okay, we have a question from Elaine. Give me 1 second. I'm going to unmute you. There you go. We have you. Yes. Hi,
Okay,
Elaine.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi everybody. First of all, I want to thank you so much, Kiran, for putting this together. This has been amazing, very informative. And I just got to say, for everybody that is working from home, keep it up. It's scary. I know I'm doing it as well. It's not fun. Anxiety, stress, working 24/7. It's hard, but keep it up. You're doing awesome. So my question is, does this whole process help with perimenopause? Like waking up in the middle of the night, irritable, hot flashes, sweating, all that. Does this whole cleanse help with that?
So this, as I mentioned, this will be a great start to laying that foundation for a healthy microbiome. And there's actually a lot of research showing, so when you finish this program and you continue on supporting your microbiome and increasing that diversity of species, there's actually a lot of research that shows that this can actually help regulate hormonal changes in your body and really helping your health and vitality. So, and I can actually share in one of the next talks when we're going to talk about probiotics, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So there is actually a lot of research between this and probiotics. So I can add that into the next information session.
Okay, that'll be great, because unfortunately I'm at that stage where I'm going through perimenopause. So yeah, that would be great.
Thank you for
Yep,
that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Elaine. So actually, I have a question for you, Dr. Grant. So live fiber has a lot of herbs, and the whole cleanse system is all herbal. What is the role of these herbs, and how are they different from any other cleanse that you would do?
The specific herbs, or in
like are there specific
general
herbs that are very helpful? What have you found in your research?
So a lot of these, especially like in the Paraway Plus, so a lot of these compounds, so if you think about them, they're actually derived from plants and these plant nutrients. So a lot of their function in plants actually supports our gut as well. So some of them have strong antimicrobial properties, because if you think about it, plants also need protection from microorganisms. Our world is full of them. There's strong research that some of these ingredients prevent the colonization within the gut by thinking about the bacteria as a cell. Some of the compounds can bind to it and prevent their ability to bind and grow. And it can also cause a lot of the bacteria to die because of this process. So it creates pores in the cell, and this causes these pathogenic organisms to die. And so a lot of this is a great mixture involved in a lot of this health, anti-parasitic and antibacterial properties.
Thank you. That's a great explanation. I had another question while you were talking about that. So some of the issues I think that are very common amongst some of the participants that are going to be participating in the next 30 days, bloating, excess gassiness, digestive irregularity. Are these some of the things that we can see start to subside in the next 30 days? Like what is your explanation behind that bloating, and how can we minimize that?
So you mean experiencing the bloating while taking the product, or
beforehand? That's some of the things that people are talking about they want to fix. Not feeling bloated all the time, not feeling so gassy, or having that digestive irregularity.
So a lot of the gas production actually comes from the microbes within the gut. So certain microbes, when they break down these foods, will actually produce a lot of gas, and this can cause a lot of like uncomfortable feelings within the gut. But as I mentioned, there's actually thousands of species in there. So changing that diversity of the microbiome and shifting what members you have in your community can actually reduce that gas production. and it really relieves that feeling of bloating.
Perfect. That's great. So if no one has any more questions, I don't want to take up too much of Dr. Grant's time. He's already given us so much, a wealth of information. I really appreciate you having, taking your time and being on this call with us. Oh, we got one more question. Very last question for Mohammed. Go for it.
Yeah, Dr. Grant, I just enjoyed the webinar. So just a very curious question. Is there anywhere where I can follow your work, like Instagram page or website or Twitter page or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I think it's at Dr. Lucas Grant, but it should be on the Unicity website. I mean, the Unicity Twitter page as well.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, thank you everyone for taking your time out today. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Dr. Lucas. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Charlene, for sharing your stories, and everyone who had those questions. If you do have further questions and want more information on how you can get started, reach out to Charlene or myself and we can help you get started. And I can't wait to have you in our group. So with that being said, have an amazing night, everyone, and we'll see you on Saturday. Bye.